this keynote is not about AI hype.
All of this compound down to one word for me, which is leadership.
Hey everybody, welcome to AI with Bri, the show where we dive deep into how to learn, leverage, and lead with AI. I'm your host, Brian Denstad. I'm a technologist, strategist, and someone deeply curious about how AI is reshaping our lives and work. Each week, we're joined by a guest who's making waves in the AI space. Together, we'll explore what they've learned, how they're applying it, and how they're bringing others along for the ride. Today, I'm super excited to welcome Vincent Hunt to the show. Vincent is the founder and CEO of Frontier Technologists and the driving force behind the Bureau of Creative Intelligence. Such a cool name. He's dedicated his career to exploring the edges of technology and creativity, helping leaders and organizations understand not just where AI is today, but where it's taking us tomorrow. Vincent brings a rare perspective that blends design thinking, entrepreneurship, and innovation. And I think you're going to get a ton of value from the way he looks at learning, leveraging, and leading in the era of intelligent systems. Welcome to the show, Vincent. Thanks for being here.
Man, thanks for having me, Brian. I'm so excited about this opportunity. Absolutely. So thank you.
You and I got to meet at the Converge South conference. I don't know, I guess it was almost a month ago at this point. And you did one of the keynote talks, and I took a picture of one of your slides. I posted it out there on LinkedIn, and it just really, really resonated. That's the leadership segment that we're going to get to in a few minutes, but help set the stage. Give us a little background that what got you into AI, and then talk us through the learning pieces. What's something you've recently learned about AI that really stood out and impart some knowledge on us?
Yeah, so what actually got me into, so I'm a frontier technologist. My whole career has been marked with this idea of, as technology comes to the forefront, going out before, the crowd, the masses, super early adopter, and trying to figure it out for leadership, helping them understand how to navigate, emerging technologies and from a strategic lens, right? So they call on me for that purpose specifically. My career goes all the way back 30 years. I actually started one of the very first web design and development studios in Indianapolis, Indiana, back at the dawn of commercial web. And so I knew, a part of what I would do for my career, right, would be in that work. But how I stumbled upon AI was it was fundamentally different. And we were building a platform called Menuless. And this was back in 2011, right? So we're building this platform called Menuless. And I was in Indianapolis, Indiana, and I took my whole design spec and I sent it to two gentlemen in Tallahassee, Florida. That's where I live now. And I was like, go over this design spec. Tell me what you think. I want to sell the IP. I don't want to build it. Right. Again, I'm a frontier technologist. I'm not trying to start a tech company. But one of my partners, Drew McLeod, he's a restaurateur, and this technology was for the restaurant industry. So long story short on that, he ends up raising a handful of money. He's like, Vince, you got to come to Tallahassee. We're going to build this thing. I'm like, I don't want to build anything. Right.
That's right.
But he suckered me into it. So I come to Tallahassee and we start building this thing. And what it basically did was it took all these paper menus and it converted them to a digital format, indexing all the information that was locked at that point in PDF menus to the web. So now you can search for a peach cobbler and find Ann's Diner, right? That wasn't possible back in 2011. So that was one of our strategic propositions. Another one was, again, giving the restaurateurs a tool called Composer that allowed them to actually put in all that restaurant data information, everything from nutrition, everything, because Menuless was smart enough to map menus to you, your own dining preferences. It was really, really cool technology. That's really a rough sketch of what this thing did. But there was a team out of MIT called Loku that was actually using AI to scrape PDFs and get all that data automatically, right? So we're sitting over here restaurateur, you have to go inside a Composer, build out your menus, work, right? Mundane work.
Yeah.
But then there's a team at MIT that's bump the mundane work. We're going to automate that. We're going to use AI to do it. So they do it. When they did that actually took away one of our key value propositions. And then they go on to be sold to, I think, OpenTable purchased them. It was crazy, but enormous cost. And we died within the marketplace within about a year and a half, just suffering from this idea that these intelligent tools have now replaced one of the key value propositions that we had. So for me, my introduction to AI was the realization of, I think, the fear that people have, which is being replaced by AI, right?
Yeah.
And not adopting, because we definitely didn't adopt, right? We were like,
Hmm.
no, no, I think there's going to be something to the user experience
Right.
of the composer. But no, that did not work well for us. We died in the marketplace, and that's how I was introduced to AI. Then the second question that you asked, and hopefully that answered that question for you.
Yeah, no, you nailed it. You nailed it. It's so interesting because, like, I say to teams all the time, like, fail fast, pivot where you need to.
Come
You've
on.
got to iterate through these things. We learn the best through failure, I think. So,
Oh, yes.
uh,
Yes.
but
Yes.
tell us, yeah, please hit us with a couple ways that you've been learning in AI lately.
So my background is really rooted in creativity, right? I love human creativity. Human creativity, I believe, is probably one of the most powerful human capabilities that God endowed us with, right? The ability to
Absolutely.
imagine, things and then bring them into the ether. 99.9%
Hmm.
of the stuff that we experience each and every day came out of the imagination of a human being, right?
That's right.
And I think
Hmm.
that's really, really beautiful and something to kind of like anchor ourselves in when I begin to traverse through, like, what have I learned? What I've learned in my journey with AI just over the last 3 to 4 years, where I really, really hunkered down and really started getting busy in it, is this symbiotic relationship between man and machine.
Hmm.
So that's where a lot of my study is going right now, is again that symbiotic relationship between man and machine. How do we partner with these intelligent systems in ways that augment and amplify what I call the God sauce, the things that God already gave us, right?
Yeah.
So we can be just that much more, proficient and excellent in the work that we do. So for me, that's a huge area of study for me. In my book that I released back in May, which is Capacity 2.0, I talk about symbiotic creativity, and that was the spark. So since then, Gary Kasparov and some of the early pioneers that have gone out and talked about, human and machine augmentation and symbiosis, really, really gets me excited right now.
Absolutely. I mean, if you have to, the two anecdotes that pop in my head are, you have to go back and look at, like, we've been using machines for thousands and thousands of
Yeah,
years. I mean, we harnessed fire and the little tool to make arrowheads. I mean, if those aren't, like, quote unquote machines, right, that we've been harnessing to propagate humanity throughout the whole globe, right? I mean, and these are just further extensions of it.
yeah, I actually did a
It's
blog post called Remastering Fire just here recently. So it's interesting that you're
yeah.
mentioning fire, because in that vein of curiosity, I started asking the question, what other, technological advances have we tapped into as human beings that have been as radical as AI, right?
Yeah.
And so there was a list of really, really cool inventions, but the one that um, really, really kind of like got to me was fire, right?
Yeah.
And the reason why fire got to me in its relationship to AI is because it, like AI, has the ability, right, to move us forward and also fully engulf us,
That's right. Oh yeah, yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So as human
Yeah. Oh, I didn't
beings,
even think about that. That's so
so, so,
powerful.
like
Yeah.
so like this idea of the fire ring,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
The fire
Yeah.
ring to contain the power of fire, right?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
really believe we're in the age of remastering fire. So I did a whole blog post on remastering fire, because the potential of AI is as great or greater than, right,
Hmm.
fire, because this actually
That's right.
tips into one of our monuments, which is intelligence, right?
That's right.
It's kind of
Hmm.
interesting.
Absolutely. And the second thing that pops in my head as you were describing that journey, um, is that creativity thing, right? Like, everything's a remix with AI. Like, AI is not creative.
Right.
And the other thing that I saw a video on last week or something was on this power of, like, you and I, as intelligent beings, are constantly refactoring and rethinking things every second.
Yes.
With AI to do that, I've got to wait for the prompt to finish. Then I got to formulate my thoughts. I got to reprompt it. Like, I think in the next couple of years, AI will be able to recalculate on the fly. But
Hmm.
I still don't think, like you said, there's no God magic there. There's no ability to truly create. I
Hmm.
think the true creation comes from us, and AI, like you said, is just going to be an extension
Hmm.
that lets us bring out our creativity so much faster and quicker and better than we've ever been able to do before.
Yeah,
So
I
powerful.
think I think the way that I help creatives, because again, when I talk. because I really, really like working with creative leadership in this time because they're the ones that
Mm-hmm.
are the most conflicted, right? We've owned all the pixels
That's right.
up
That's
until
right.
this point, right? Then all of a sudden you have machines coming, replicating, the things that we can do at scale. Computers have more compute, more synthesis power than us.
Mm-hmm.
But what they don't have is dreams and imagination. Not that I know of. I've never sat in
That's
front of
right.
my chat GPT one morning and it's like, Vince, last night I had a dream. Guess what?
That's
Like,
right.
look at these images I created while you were asleep. Like
That's
it's
right.
it's never done that before. And so human beings having this very unique, right, very human capacity, right, to
Yeah.
dream and to imagine. The way that I ground, professional creative leaders, executive creative leaders, is this idea that they will always be the original prompt. And I don't want to get too
Mm-hmm.
biblical, but in the beginning he said, "Let there be light,"
That's right.
and there was
That's
light.
right. Mm-hmm.
So prompts, right?
That's right.
You prompted the world into existence.
I
And
love it.
now here we are standing at the gate, the closest that we've ever been to our divine capability to just prompt things into existence.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
With the co partnership of like what I call magnificent manifestation machines. Right.
That's right.
So
Yeah.
that's where we are. And understanding that we will be the original prompt. Right.
I love it.
Really kind
Mm-hmm.
of interesting.
Yeah, it's very deep. A lot to unpack there for those watching and listening here. So think through that. I want to move into the leverage piece of it because we've talked a little bit about this, I think, but you've learned a ton and you're putting that knowledge to work now. I
Yes.
mean, your keynote really resonated. What are some of the concrete ways you and the Bureau of Creative Intelligence are leveraging AI in your day-to-day projects?
Yeah, I think I think I would be remiss if I didn't start off this part of what we're talking about with this idea of the death of ego, right?
Hmm.
Within the Bureau, we adapted relatively quickly, right? Because that's what we're called to do is to adapt and to
Yeah.
understand. But like it would be again, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about like the death of ego. How many monuments we had to lay down that was
Hmm.
prohibiting us to actually move forward with fluency in AI, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
this is the best on whiteboards and sticky notes. Like if we're doing a brainstorming, Brian, I promise you, my handwriting is great. My sticky notes are always organized, right?
Good.
But
Good.
realizing that AI can synthesize and actually help us in brainstorming processes in a more efficient way, there had to be
Hmm.
a death of the whiteboard and sticky notes to some degree,
That's that's right. Yep.
which I had actually tied a little of my identity to, right?
Uh-huh.
Right.
Yeah, me too. I love my whiteboards.
Yeah. There's just something about the whiteboards. Even if I do whiteboards now, I'm still taking pictures and throwing it to my AI assistant to either
Hmm.
synthesize that information, even if I want to just have fun and play. But like so, for everyday use of AI, being able to augment ourselves in the mundane areas that used to take us a ton of time. For instance, if we're writing like a statement of work, or if we're writing contracts, or if we're writing pieces that can actually be augmented with AI that have no like so for instance, if I'm writing a piece of content that is really about context setting or just creating like a framework for how we will work, right?
Hmm.
I have no beef whatsoever with cooperating with AI to get that kind of work done, right?
Yeah, that's right.
If
That's
you're
right.
looking for the true magic, the things that will give you goosebumps, Vincent's hands are still in it with his imagination and creativity, but
Hmm.
be kid not, right? I am still pulling on AI for bigger ideas. Like, what do you think of this? How can we go further? And then building and compounding on things. So what we're doing is moving a lot faster. Our ideas are bigger because the machine doesn't exhaust, right?
That's right.
And when you
Hmm.
start to understand those kinds of dynamics, your everyday work just becomes just that much more efficient and just that much more creative when there's true symbiosis.
That's right. That's right. I think AI can, it's that anecdote of, a butterfly flaps its wings in China and changes the weather over here. But like with the power of AI, like you can literally spin up 10,000 butterfly wings and create an actual
Yeah.
current. So like this power is right at our fingertips for sure. So powerful.
Yeah,
Um,
I think, and one more thing that if I can add to this, Brian, I think
mhm.
because this was a revelation for me, is being able to extend my cognitive ability. Because
Yeah.
of course reports come out saying that our cognitive ability is shrinking. I'm not sure who that group is, but I can tell you this: my cognitive capabilities to go further. How many times have you been working on a piece of work and you just get tired, right?
Hmm.
Because you're
Hmm.
churning the information, you're churning the information. It's taking you a month, right?
That's right.
Now I can move in cooperation with AI quickly through ideas, synthesizing information quickly, right?
Hmm.
And getting to deeper resonant ends that before I would just get tired before I got to that end.
That's right.
I
That's
just
right.
shifted because I'm just tired of writing this thing, right?
That's right.
Now, like whatever would take me like a month, now taking me a week, right? And in that week,
Hmm.
more work being done than what I could do in the month.
Absolutely.
That's the revelation. So anyway,
And it comes back to those processes of how are you really leveraging AI in your day to day. Like I know you and I both know as humans, we need to exercise, we need to eat, we need to sleep on those things. But like the exercising component, like now I can take 5 minutes, download what I'm working on into the AI, get the couple screenshots of the whiteboard, get the document uploaded to the project folder,
yes.
and then I can take my phone and go out for a walk and get some fresh air and just talk to the AI, like just, babble into it for 2, 3, 4 minutes. And then say, organize this thoughts, lay out the outline, whatever it is like that. And then, look at the couple documents, give me that next round of energy. And
Man.
I come back after a 15-minute walk with 12 new ideas, reinvigorated. And I got some work done while I was walking. Like it's so powerful, right?
So powerful. And I think what you're talking about, Brian, is what I'm really, really interested in, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is human and machine symbiosis. Like what
That's right.
happens when you truly lean in, use the compute and synthesis power of AI to augment yourself in ways that we never were before. Again, when you think about like Gary Kasparov and the work that he did in his book Deep Thinking, I'm in that book right now, I'm like deep into it. And he talks
Yeah.
about like chess master, right? Who leverages AI and creates a program. I think he called it Scimitar, where now it's like a man and a machine versus another man and a machine. Because if it's
Mm-hmm.
man and machine versus just man getting crushed every time, man and
That's right.
machine versus machine getting crushed every time. But when you see that symbiotic relationship in between man and machine versus man and machine, right? And when I
Yeah.
say man and man, I'm inclusive of course, woman and machine, right?
Mm-hmm. Of course. Of
Um,
course.
the that is what I'm super, super interested in, right? Because I believe that
Mm-hmm.
that is the gateway to breakthroughs and disease and like a lot of the wicked problems that we've been trying to solve up until this
Yeah.
point. I think that's
Yeah.
this is where we'll see those breakthroughs.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, last quick question on this leverage section. Like, are there any essential tools or workflows that you've been using in your daily practice as a frontier technologist that the rest
Man,
of these people need to try out and play with?
you know that's an interesting question for me because I walk that line lightly. Because
Hmm.
what I realized early on, in this exploration is there are so many tools, right? And what can happen is you get so overwhelmed with like so many tools. Like I learned every single tool. And then I just went back to like just design principles and really understanding, the simplicity of your tech stack, right? What are the
Yeah.
tools that you use and that you're efficient with? And are you mastering those tools? So for me, of course, there's like the Chat GPT is a foundational one. Then you've
Hmm.
got Perplexity. I love Claude. Like to
Yeah.
throw that in there as well on the research, information, context side.
Hmm.
From an artistic side, Midjourney, I'm a Midjourneyist to the heart, right? I get the
Yeah.
magazine every month. I love Midjourney. I love exploring with Midjourney. Even though Gemini and VO3 and everything they're doing in the Google Suite is getting real wicked right now. So
It is.
there's some of that. But my tech stack is relatively simple in
Yeah.
relationship to some that I've seen,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Because I'm very, very focused in the work that I do. And again, I
Yeah.
think because I play a lot in the human layer, right? I don't get so involved with the tech in of itself, right? I'm more concerned with how humans are approaching the tech in their
Hmm.
work and
That's right.
encouraging to say what tools work best for you in your work. And I think that's at another time we can talk about organization adoption,
Hmm.
right? I think one of
Yeah.
the challenges with organization adoption is we're trying to integrate AI like we did Microsoft Teams.
That's right.
It
I
is,
know.
it is not the same, right?
Is not.
Jackie
No.
needs a whole different set of tools than Bob over here in procurement. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
so that I think is another challenge in the fragmentation of all these tools and how each one of those tools can help professionals do their work better.
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head there with that because it's easy to teach somebody to go file open and hit bold and stuff like that, but like it's a fundamental shift when you have to teach them how do we use a prompt, how do we organize data and information. It's really a next level up that we have to take a lot of our employees through this learning curve and this adoption curve for change management and enterprise optimization, all that kind of stuff. Yeah,
I
real,
found
yeah, that's a whole separate episode for sure on
But
that one.
but I found the calling card out there, Brian. Like, and maybe you'll write this post, or maybe you'll bring
Hmm.
somebody in to have a podcast. What's critical
Yeah,
now? I think is the big question. You know,
that's
they
right.
always say critical thinking. There was
Hmm.
a lot of critical thinking that we had to do with the crude tools that we had just no more
Yeah.
than 3 years ago, right? I think
Hmm.
critical thinking is different now because we have to ask ourselves what is critical right now
Yeah.
versus what was critical then. And I think
Hmm.
that shift is a fundamental shift that when you start thinking, okay, when I do my work, right?
Yeah.
What were the things that actually like bottlenecked me and had me like stuck in the murk? And how
Hmm.
can these tools get me out of the murk to move with more efficiency, time savings, and everything else that comes with that? Right?
That's
Greater
right.
performance goes up. See, it's those kinds of questions that I think that everybody needs to be asking, and it's a total reboot as it pertains to us being leaders.
Yeah, I agree completely. And I'd say the number one thing I'm telling everybody is don't bury your head in the sand and think that your employees aren't using AI. Get a governance policy in place, figure out which tool you want to go in on, and lock that in. So with this, I think it's a great tee up for the last segment of our show here today is, leading, and the thing I have it pulled up here because I took a picture of it and posted it on LinkedIn.
Mhm.
You're on stage and you got to this one slide and said, this keynote is not about AI hype, it's about leadership.
Mhm.
And it's this beautiful picture of a robot and a man staring each other in the eyes. Like, I don't know, that just hit me like a ton of bricks along with everything else you had been leading up to it. Can you help maybe unpack just that little segment of the talk that you gave, so to give people some context? And then talk to us a little bit more just about how important this leadership piece is in the era that we're moving into.
Yeah, leadership. So when I think about leadership and its role in AI adoption, and moving the technology forward in meaningful, responsible, ethical ways. Again, that starts at the top, right?
Hmm.
The top has to create some level of course, policy and governance, transparency, right? Resilience, all of these things have to wake up now. It can't be like this passive idea of, okay, we're just going to integrate AI, right? Because the idea of passive, like we're just going to integrate AI,
Hmm.
really it's not working. Like if we look at the statistics, like pretty much a majority of AI initiatives are failing. And they're
Yes,
failing because you can't go tell Mary, who's been like the spreadsheet queen for like 15 years. In fact, she has a little gold trophy on her desk that she got at the last company retreat that says
that's
she's
right.
the dopest at like spreadsheets, right?
That's right.
Tell her, okay, we're adopting AI and AI is going to do those spreadsheets in a more efficient way, Mary. So I need you to adopt, right?
Yep.
She might be gun ho in your office and walk out with a high five, but as soon as she goes back to her desk, she's like, but wait a minute, what if this replaces me? Now it
Yeah.
turns into an attack on her, not just on the role, not the position that she's in, but her identity.
Hmm. Hmm.
Leadership has to create a level of transparency that tells Mary that, Mary, even if it takes your spreadsheets away and makes your life better because you'll have more time, we're going to upskill you into another position where there may be more money, more
So
opportunity,
key.
and
Yeah.
growth. Right. So
Hmm.
now all of a sudden, what was like danger stranger to her now becomes an ally for growth.
Hmm.
That starts at leadership.
That's right.
Right? So
Yeah.
again, leaders getting very, very clear and getting back to this is why we created a platform. This was at the top of the year last year called Mirror. Mirror is basically one of the very first technology agnostic frameworks for AI integration and implementation around creating policy and governance, but it takes them back to the company values, the strategic goals and objectives. And when
Hmm.
that all gets aligned, leadership, resilience building, when all of that gets aligned, when you begin to integrate AI on top of that, it makes sense for people. And I think sometimes we forget it's about people, right?
Hmm.
And so, because it's easy to get, all wound up in the hype. So again, all of this compound down to one word for me, which is leadership.
That's right.
Leadership has
Absolutely.
to take the initiative on that and start those kinds of initiatives within the organization and make it a more holistic integration into what we're doing. Again, we've never had a technology that came and like impeded on one of our monuments called intelligence, right?
That's right. That's
So
right.
yeah.
Yeah, very, very well said. And I'll make sure I link some documents in our show notes to learn more about Vincent's framework that he was talking about here. I'm curious, like what would be some of the key takeaways for the leaders watching this podcast? Because like I'm trying to, like, the thing for me is like what you just said resonated with me of like I almost have to go back and look at everybody's job description.
Hmm.
Let's start there
Hmm.
and let's interweave how AI is going to help your job and your job description level up, and then like let's close that gap on the knowledge that you need
Hmm.
to bring those couple AI bullet points in your job description to life, right? Like
Yeah.
where would you say other leaders should take those first couple steps to help drive forward the leadership you and I both know is so critical?
I think that's a big one, Brian. You just hit it. You nailed it. I'm sitting here. I'm like, yeah, exactly.
Hmm.
Go back and look at each role and say, okay, so how does AI change this role, right? Because it
Hmm.
will not remain the same. And if
Right.
it remains the same, here's the. I'm not like a doom and gloom broker. That's not what I do. I don't like that.
Hmm.
But I will say this: if the role doesn't change in your organization, it will change in your competition's organization, and you
That's
will be
right.
left behind. That's a bad day,
That's right.
right?
Hmm.
Like, why are they
Hmm.
moving at clips faster than us?
That's
Why
right.
are they so much more efficient than us? Why does their company feel more human than ours? That's
That's
a
right.
big one. Why does their
Hmm.
company feel more human than ours? Right? Because I think when we think AI is going to automate everything and turn everything robotic, but I
Hmm.
think it's actually the opposite. It's the
Hmm.
opposite because as a leader, if you can say humanness is now a competitive advantage,
That's
we
right.
actually can spend more time on the human stuff if we give the machine stuff that's been
Hmm.
bogged down, making us crazy every day, 5,000 emails later, right?
Right. Yeah.
If we can get to the point where now all of a sudden we can actually have an engagement with our clients in ways that actually feel human because we don't have the burden, right, of all the mundane stuff. So
That's
you
right.
hit it right on the head. How do we go in and do an audit of all of the things that we're doing and make
Hmm.
it make sense in a responsible, ethical way, both for
Hmm.
stakeholders internal and external? Because we've heard of that
Yep.
those snafus, right?
That's right. That's
I
right.
won't say no names, but certain financial organizations just completely wiping out, and everybody's like,
Right.
no, 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 we can't do that. So we have to think about things in a more holistic, robust way because everything is under flux and change and transformation right now, and it can
Hmm.
feel really heavy and weighty for leaders, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
But this only happens once every 30 years. So, like, suck it up and let's go, right?
That's right.
And what
Yeah.
we'll see is the next 30, 40, 50 years of what we do in the space of business and our lives, right?
Yep.
I think is going to radically change for the better if we keep ourselves focused on what's most important, which are the humans that actually make the magic happen in our organization and our lives every day.
That's right.
Yeah,
Well, obviously, you and I are, I would say boldly, both firm believers that AI is almost ushering in a new renaissance era for
yeah, it
us,
is.
right?
Mhm.
And it comes back to like the thing I've been struggling with as a leader is like how does the process need to shift? Like we get the right butts and the right seats with the job descriptions that we talked about, and the process side of it is the next thing because like we've been down this agile path for so long. Like, let's pivot quickly, let's fail fast, those kinds of things. Let's micro it out. Let's not know where we're going, but let's wander and get there quickly. And I love that for the human oriented side. But I find that the AI needs a little bit more planning. So I wonder if it goes back to like, do we have to do a little bit more waterfall? Do we have to do a little bit more documentation in the front end of this? Like, do we have to really know where we're heading before we unleash the AI? Because like 10,000 butterflies could lift an elephant, right? I mean, it's
Mhm.
that concept of like, let's not, before we unleash them, let's make sure we know which way we're heading
Yeah.
or something. Do you have some thoughts on how the process may shift with AI?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, and again, like you're so spot on, Brian. This is why I was like so excited about this conversation because I could tell like you
Cool.
dialed in. So,
Yeah.
it's a situation where if you think about these processes, whenever I go into organizations and we're talking about AI integration and how this should work, there's a couple of things that really resonate for me. Right, one, we're at the stage where the frameworks and the blueprints of how this stuff actually happened are actually being written right now.
That's
Right,
right. Yeah. Hmm.
organizations should literally be publishing books that we will read 10 years from now of how this stuff actually happened.
I agree. Well, you just
Yeah,
published one. There we go.
yeah, yeah, seriously. Like, and that's why, like at the Bureau, when I published, Capacity 2.0, that was my stab at it. Like, I'm gonna talk
That's
to
right.
leadership and what capacities do we need to hold a future of uncertainty. So there is that.
Hmm.
So I do think that there should be more documentation. How are things, more testing, right? And be
Yeah.
vulnerable to the idea that like you may get it wrong the very first time, right?
Hmm.
But mitigate those damages and mitigate those risks with good planning, right? Make
Hmm.
sure stakeholders are involved. And when I say stakeholders, I'm talking both internal and external, right?
Hmm.
How will this be perceived in the public if it's a
That's
public
right.
facing thing, right?
Yep.
If it's about a reduction in manpower, if it's about a reduction in staff, is it really a reduction or is it a repositioning? All of
Yep.
these things are things that we need to be thinking about and being intentional about them and not just doing. I think right now, and maybe you agree or maybe not, there's so much cool stuff coming, and it's like, oh, just grab the cool thing, right? It's not
That's right.
sexy to talk about policy and governance, is it? It's not sexy to talk about frameworks and governance around different things.
That's right.
That's the work we're supposed to be doing right now, right? So 5 years from now, they can say Brian wrote, the policies to this thing 5 years ago, and we're reviewing them because things have changed, right?
Yeah.
I think
I
that's
think that's, and it's half the battle is like, we know we're not perfect as humans, but we're going to get in the sandbox and play with it. Like the people that following me are seeing the AI videos that I'm pushing out there. And I've probably tried 10 different AI video generation things. I've failed at miserable things. I've wasted hundreds of dollars on this, that, and the other thing, but I'm slowly playing with it and figuring it out. And it's coming to life, and I'm building this framework of it. And it is all about that, exactly what you just said. So, wow, this has been amazing. I love chatting with you, Vincent. And obviously we could probably go a whole nother half an hour, but I'm trying to keep this. I'm a runner guy. I want to go for a 30-minute run, and I want to be able to listen to the podcast within 30 minutes. So we're going to try to wrap it up here.
Okay.
But it's just been so inspiring to hear how you're not just innovating for yourself, but creating pathways to lead so many other people to AI. So thank you so much for joining me. How do people get in touch? Like, I know tons of people are going to want to reach out to you
Yeah.
and connect with you and check out your book. So get me those links, but how do people reach out and get in touch?
Yeah, real simple. Like, I'm a super transparent dude. I love to connect with people. Again, in the age of AI, I'm actually finding I have way more time to just really get in and have
Mm-hmm.
real meaningful conversations. So if you're on LinkedIn, Vincent Hunt. If you're on Instagram, Vincent Hunt. If you're on Facebook, any of the platforms, I was one of those lucky dudes that got his name. I don't have to be like Boo Baby 866. You know what I'm
That's
saying? Like,
right. That's right.
I can be Vincent Hunt. So you can find me, Vincent Hunt, anywhere. You can find me at the Bureau of Creative Intelligence, bureauofcreativeintel.com. If you go there, we've got a new
Okay.
site coming out very, very soon that's going to talk about our creative intelligence frameworks that we've been working on for the past 2 years. So there's that. Just super touchable. Jump in my DMs, right? If you have a question, jump on LinkedIn and like, let's talk it up. Let's get busy.
Yeah, you've been very open and transparent. You accepted my invite
Yeah.
quickly, and we've been able to connect, and here you are on the show. So that's awesome. We will make sure all those links that he just mentioned are in the show notes, so you can reach out and get in touch with Vincent. Again, thank you so much for joining me today, Vincent. I really loved hearing your take on learning, leveraging, and leading with AI.
Yep. Absolutely. I appreciate you, Brian. Thanks for having me, brother.
If you have been listening and enjoying this episode, do me a favor, follow the podcast, leave us a review, or share it with somebody who's exploring how to grow with AI. You can learn more about Vincent and the Bureau of Creative Intelligence on his website. Those links are in the show notes. Again, I'm Brian Denstead. We'll see you next week. And remember, the future doesn't wait. Learn, leverage, and lead. This episode of AI with Bry was hosted and produced by me, Brian Denstead. Produced with help from Nancy Velasquez and Kelly Lopez. Video by Leo Moralina. Sound AI generated. Find us on all platforms at AI with Bry and visit ai.bry.net for more. Learn, leverage, lead.